Good afternoon and welcome to our virtual event and discussion on reclaiming wellness as nursing professionals. My name is Stephanie and I will be helping facilitate today's event. This event today is hosted by California Southern University, which is a regionally accredited 100% online school that offers monthly course starts to help working professionals earn degrees and professional certifications. Before we get started, I do have a few notes. As I'm doing this, please feel free to share in the chat where you're connecting with us from today, if you're an enrolled learner at Cal Southern, and what brought you to our discussion today. First, please be aware that this event is being recorded and will be provided to all participants and registrants after the event. Feel free to turn your camera off or on, whatever's your preference with that knowledge. As we're presenting and discussing, please add your questions into the chat. We're going to be monitoring all the comments coming in, collecting questions to discuss throughout the event, as this is interactive. We're excited to hear from each one of you. I would like to now introduce Johanna Bruner. Johanna is a lifelong educator with an extensive instructional and clinical experience in nursing and health education. She brings to California Southern University a deep commitment to educating professional nurses in every capacity with her demonstrated administrative and practice experience. She has held several high-level positions with UCLA Health, LA County Emergency Medical Services, and Beth Israel Medical Center, New York. Her publications and research interests include cardiac disease, thriving in a rapidly changing environment, and the promotion of nursing profession and the importance of ongoing education and mentorship. Joe, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so happy to be here with everyone today. It's really thrilling for me, and I thank you all for joining us. A few of the things that we want to cover today really came out of this very unusual, for lack of a better word, 2 years that we've spent adjusting to the outcomes of the pandemic and how it's changed our lives both personally and at work. One of the things that we're finding is that we've developed a very urgent need for nursing professionals. Our life balance has changed. Our work-life balance has changed. We're looking at and experiencing organizational changes and best practices. And we want to take a very close look, a personal look at the approach to our wellness. And then we're going to we'll talk a little bit about what to prepare for the future. What does this all mean in terms of where we go for the future? So you're running and you think, man, this hurts so much, I can't take it anymore. The hurt part is the unavoidable reality, but whether or not you stand anymore is up to the runner themselves. It's such a great quote that captures these last few years. We're just running and running and running, and we think we can't take it anymore, but really it's up to us as individuals to dig down deep and find out what resources we have within us that can help us through these times, and that's up to us as individuals. And again, one of the unexpected outcome is the urgent need for nursing professionals. And there's several reasons behind that. We have noticed that we have a higher dropout rate in the nursing profession, in all medical professions. We know that there's a prediction that by 2030, we're going to have an excess of 500,000 nurses that we're short, more intense in the West and in the South. The enrollment is just simply not on pace with the demand, and the fact that there's not enough faculty in our nursing schools to handle the influx of students really deepens the problem even more. The retirement age, because of the stress that we've all felt, people are choosing to retire earlier. Perhaps they were going to wait another 4 or 5 years, and now there's just kind of burning out and saying, no, I'm going to do it now. And that's all part of the pandemic-associated stress.
Unmute myself. We're going to pause for questions here. So we're wrapping up going over the various causes for shortages of the nursing professionals, which, the slide indicated that by 2030, there would be a pretty significant shortage. And the poll that we would like to pose to our audience is, when considering the shortage of nursing professionals, which reason that Joe covered for us today does our audience feel is having the largest impact? So Joe, while this kind of populates in, would you mind sharing with us your opinion of the largest driving factor here?
I think, frankly, the stress that we've all felt because of these unforeseen circumstances and circumstances where we look with hope that there'll be resolution, but the resolution changes on a daily basis, and which adds on to the stress. So I think that the accumulating stress factors really play a big part in whether or not we're going to stick it out, for lack of a better word, or whether we're going to make that decision to take a step back because perhaps we feel that that's the best thing for ourselves and our families.
I think that that makes a lot of sense. And it looks like our audience agrees as well. 100% saying the pandemic associated stress is impacting greatly the nursing profession. So with that, Joe, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you to talk about that work-life balance.
It's really interesting if you think about it. And as this quote says, there's sort of no such thing as work-life balance. It's all life. And the balance, as we mentioned previously, has to come from within you. So I think it's very easy to say, oh, we're going to establish a great work-life balance. But if we are stressed to the point where we've lost sight or pushed to the back ways to do that, we're not going to get there. But the key to remember is that this is life. This is life, how life progresses. And again, it's up to us to find what that balance is and how we're going to find it. And what changed? Why did our focus change throughout the pandemic? Well, one of the reasons for that is because if we've heard a million times, we've heard to expect the unexpected, but you never really think that's going to happen until it does. And then when the unexpected hits you in the face, you're looking around at, what do I keep? What do I give up? What should my new focus be? Should I even have a new focus? And some of those things are questions that aren't really answerable. And some of the things are sort of forced on you. If you're at work and you're being given an entirely new set of things to do and tasks to do that you've never experienced before, your focus is going to change regardless of what you feel inside you want to happen. And so you're asking yourself the question, well, is there a new focus? What is my focus now?
And so we're going to kind of go back here, and we would like to ask our participants today, when thinking about the pandemic, we're interested in the reason that the shift in focus happened. So the options here are lack of support or acknowledgement from management, limited resources, personal or family needs became greater, and the ongoing unknown was exhausting. Now, Joe, while this is kind of populating, something that struck me that you said was expect the unexpected, but it's such that's not a tangible task, right? And you can never really know what that means and what that's going to carry with it. So how do you feel like, what do you feel like is the biggest driver for the shift in focus?
I think the whole idea of expecting the unexpected, you're right. It isn't anything that you can pin down. And I think what we've learned from that is how resilient we really are. I think in order for us to be ready for whatever that next step in quote unexpected is just to be a little bit open to the fact that we may not know what change will come. And I think it's a little bit comforting and a little bit easier to deal with if you admit the fact that you don't know what's going to happen, and then put yourself in the frame of mind of, I'm going to make it through. My focus is going to be to admit the fact to myself that I don't really know what's going to happen yet I know that I'm resilient enough and strong enough to find ways to get through it.
Well, so if we look at our poll results here, we have personal and family needs became greater, as well as the ongoing unknown was exhausting. And just for the record, there were no wrong answers on this one. But, you know, Joe, I think you bring up a great point, and I think it moves into your next section pretty well about resources and change.
I think there's never been a better time. You know, we talk over the years constantly about what we expect from our organizations and what best practices are and what really, you know, really will help us maintain that bravery and resilience, you know, whatever we want to call it. And I think the greatest thing to know right now about organizational best practices is that the organizations are listening, where perhaps in the past they would listen but not act. Now we're listening and acting because there is no other choice. We're faced with position statements. We're faced with the huge developments in diversity and inclusion and equity across healthcare. So when we're speaking about we want to make it better for our staff, that's everyone inclusive. There's no one that can be excluded from these processes. We need to know that our leadership is attainable, is close to us, that they're there with us, recognizing the needs that we have as staff members. And rather than saying, oh, we'll look into it, or whatever the case may be, that they are there on the front lines with you, making those changes based on the ideas that you give them. And we see that happening more and more. As I said, there was never a better time for organizations to be listening to what you have to say. So by all means, please speak up. If you have something that you want to say, do not keep it inside. We are working so hard as a group. And when I say a group, that means every single one of us that is in a healthcare profession, to combat the racism, to ensure inclusion, to make sure that any wrongs that we may have done in the past, that we put an end to it. So we're stepping forward into uncharted territory, not just with the result of the pandemic and the health challenges, but as a group, at the cultural challenges that we're faced, and recognizing that this is an opportune time to sort of bring everything together and show who we are as humans, and how resilient and brave we are, and how willing we are to tackle anything that you put in front of us. And one of the things that's happening that I find incredibly interesting is this whole idea of holistic admission reviews. So there's always sort of been a standard for being admitted or requesting admission to a university or to any kind of a school. And we look at academics, and we look at, you know, your extracurricular activities, but we don't take a holistic view, like who are you as a person, and what do you have to bring that's personal and meaningful and will help us. And that's what's starting to happen right now. So when we're talking about holistic admission reviews, we're flipping it upside down and taking a look at the person first, rather than what the person is bringing with them. And it's a true time for moral courage. You know, again, as we talked about, when we're reflecting on diversity, on thoughts, on beliefs, on backgrounds, this isn't the time to show a lack of courage. This is the time to get up there and express your needs and speak for what you know you need, what your staff needs, what your family needs. However that is done, this is a very courageous time to do that. And again, an opportune time to do things that we perhaps were not allowed or permitted to do in the past. So that's an open door at this point.
We have another pause here for questions. We don't have a poll to share with this one, but we would love to hear in the chat if there are any best practices or any policies that that our audience has experienced that were beneficial as nursing professionals to help support this work-life balance and navigating through all this change that has been caused by COVID-19. And while we wait for that to come in, Joe, I'm going to go ahead and let you keep going on here.
Well, what comes to mind and when I'm thinking about some of the things that we lost and what we hope to get back, or at least would love to see come our way again, is that whole freedom that we had, which we probably didn't even realize we had, but the freedom to come and go as we wished. We lost that freedom more in the first year than we have now. And we lost it not only on a personal basis, but we lost it with our families as well. We lost the ability to actually do those things that bring peace and comfort to us. So we need to strive to find out what those things are and bring them back, so that we can, at some, whatever way possible, bring that peace and meaning back and security back into our lives again, because we know that was just sort of pulled out from under us. And then to understand going forward, people talk about the new normal. I don't think there is such a thing as a new normal. I think every day brings a new version of what normal can be. And again, that goes back to looking at yourself and what you do and what you do with your families as what feels the best, what feels the most peaceful, what is bringing you the most joy at any given moment, rather than worry about what's going to be normal tomorrow or what's going to be normal next year. Because we all have learned that we can't put any basis in that, because we really have no way of knowing.
I saw a quote the other day that said to focus on the stair in front of you and not the whole staircase. You can't possibly look so far ahead that you know what's going to happen, but you can look directly in front of you and address that.
That's so true. So true.
And with that, we'll go ahead into your next section here, the personal approach.
And again, looking at what we can do to develop skills. And, we say develop skills, and that sounds kind of daunting, but it's not meant to sound daunting. It's finding ways and things that you can do, little things, to just help yourselves feel better, and things that are effective in taking you to that place where you find a little bit of peace and find a little bit of self-security again. So one of the greatest things is journaling. And I could probably spend an entire session just on journaling. But what I think I would love you all to take away is that it's really a great way to reflect on what's happening to you internally and externally and put it into words, because there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's nothing, if you're writing something down, there's nothing wrong that you can write. You can pretty much say whatever you feel. If you feel like filling an entire page with curse words, you get to do that. If you feel that it's going to make you feel better to fill an entire page with just a bunch of question marks, you get to do that. Because what the idea is to bring out from what's inside you and externalize it on a piece of paper, so that at some time you can go back and look at it and laugh out loud. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I really said that, or I really felt that way. But it's one of those wonderful opportunities where you can say anything you want and literally no one can stop you. So I really encourage you to use that as a tool, because it's incredibly therapeutic. I know that's a big word. What does it mean? It just means it's a way to make you feel better. And going from there, there's nothing better than taking a slow walk, unless, of course, you're walking a dog like the gentleman in this picture who's pulling you down the street, and then the dog is taking you for a walk. But just being out and just walking slowly, pacing yourself, you have no place to go, even if it's just up and down the block, and looking at what's around you. Oh, look at that maple leaf that fell off the tree over there. That's really pretty. I never spent the time noticing that before. Or, oh, look at that hummingbird that, why is that hummingbird even out in winter? It's way too cold for it. Or look at the clouds in the sky. It kind of sounds corny and mundane, but it is an amazing way to bring peace. Watch something mindless on TV. We all feel like if we don't watch something that has meaning to it, and if we don't watch something that challenges our minds, we're wasting time. Well, let me tell you, there's no such thing as wasting time. Whatever you do and whatever you can do to reinstitute that peace is time well spent. So if you feel like turning on an afternoon talk show or watching American Idol or, whatever the case may be, if it's going to bring a smile to your face, then by all means do it. Because guess what? You don't have to be thinking all the time. You get to give your brain a rest. And that goes into making a game out of silence. I mean, have you ever tried to just sit somewhere and not say a word, not respond to anybody, just take in what's around you and try to turn your brain off? I mean, hey, wouldn't it be a great idea if we had an on-off switch in the back of our brain and we could just say, okay, I'm turning my brain off for now. I'm just going to sit here, be silent, and then in 10 minutes, I'll turn it back on again. I think that would be the greatest invention in the world. Silence brings peace with it. So try that as well. And when you're at work, when you're walking down the street, masked or not, hold your head up high. Don't look down at the ground. Smile, because even when you're wearing a mask, people can see your smiling eyes. And when you connect with another human, particularly in a stressful work environment, there is nothing that means more than a smiling face and smiling eyes. So keep your head up. I mean, every one of you who is listening to this deserves to be holding their head up as high as possible, because we've done stupendous things. So head high, smile, engage with your fellow workers, and communicate. Don't ever not talk about the changes that are happening with your family in particular, because sometimes you're so tired when you get home that you want that moment of silence. But they want to hear from you. They want to hear that their mom or their dad or their brother or their sister is still there and is still going to talk to them. So communicate the bad things as well as the good things. Also, learn to say no. I have one of the worst faults in the world about not knowing how to say no. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing. But to be able to say no, not right now, probably more with your family. Mommy, I want to play this game right now. It's like, no, not right now. Give me a few minutes. Don't be afraid to say that. And also don't be afraid to tell and to share with other people why you're saying no. It's not that you don't want to do anything. It's just that you're finding that moment of peace. And if you can, when you're at work, ask for adjustments in your time. Either ask for a lunch adjustment. Again, given that it's feasible, ask for adjustments in your schedule. Can I come in an hour later tomorrow? Can I, come in an hour earlier and go home an hour earlier? One of the things that we forget is that we won't know the answer to anything if we don't ask. And I know that times are tough, and I know the demand for nurses is just crazy. But if you don't ask, you will never know. And you feel worse not asking than asking and being told no. I would rather ask and be told no than carry inside of me the fact that I never asked the question, so I'm never going to know what the response would be. Find your support team. They're all around us, our friends, our colleagues, our families, people who you least expect. Find who understands and supports you. And again, don't be afraid to ask for that support. I mean, if ever there was a time when you needed to be able to say to someone, hey, can I talk to you just for a moment? Now's the time to do that. And again, being hesitant or afraid to ask for what we need, that increases stress. That doesn't decrease stress. Asking for what you need, even if you don't get exactly what you need, decreases the stress. And it only takes a very small amount of a decrease to make you feel better and bring back some of that peace that we so need. Oh, I don't know about the rest of you, but there is nothing better than a 5-minute nap. Make the most of it. If you've got that opportunity to lay your head down, again, whether it's at work and you're just putting your head down on your desk for a few minutes, or whether you go into the break room and just like sit down on a chair or a couch and close your eyes for a few minutes, or whether you get home and say, okay, everybody, I'm 15 minutes, don't bother me, I'm napping. Naps are incredibly rejuvenating and absolutely rebuild spirit. So make the most of it. And again, as I've said a million times now, don't be afraid to say, you know what, I need to go take a nap. Whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, it doesn't matter. It matters to be able to say that you need it and then go and do it. Study something the opposite of what you work. You know, we sometimes forget that there's some pretty crazy things out there that really bring happiness. I don't know how many of you have seen lately pictures of firefighters or law enforcement agency knitting in their spare time. That may sound funny, but let me tell you, it is wonderful. If you do something completely the opposite of what you're used to doing, it feels wonderful and it really is relaxing. So that could be learning how to cook when you hate the kitchen. That could be knitting. That could be painting, even if you paint like a child. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you do something offbeat, you do something different, you introduce something into your life that's going to change it up a little bit. And by doing that, you break that cycle of stress and you break that cycle of sameness, which adds to the stress. And then you allow a little bit of light in because now you've introduced something that's going to put a smile on your face. You know, whatever that may be. It is so okay to have fun. I don't know whoever told us it wasn't okay to have fun, but having fun and having a giggle and again, putting that smile on your face and putting that smile in your heart is probably one of the most therapeutic things that we can do. There was a book, and excuse me, because I'm not going to remember the name of the book or the author, that talked about smiling and laughing as being curative for illness. And it's very, very true. If you can, in the worst moments, get yourself to laugh and get yourself to have some fun, you'll be amazed at the outcome. You'll really be amazed at the outcome. So I highly encourage you to find, again, that fun, whatever that translates to you.
I think those are just some really wonderful and simple tasks to help people get started with understanding how to bring this full circle and implement it into their lives. We've gotten to the open forum portion of our event. So Joe is going to be engaging in discussion. And we also have Magdalena on from our admissions department should any questions come in about enrolling at Cal Southern. So Joe, we're going to focus the discussion on preparing for the future. You know, as we kind of talked about, expect the unexpected. We never really know what's coming next. So I guess my question to start would be, when you're looking at all of these tools and these resources and, you know, everything that we've kind of gone over today, and you're suggesting that somebody really put something into place to help secure themselves, ground themselves to be able to move forward and tackle the next day, the next month, the next challenge, what would your advice be?
I think one of the things that we tend to table when there is a period of unexpected events is our overall goals for the future. And in those goals, quite often it's education. We view education as being essential, but at the same time, we view it as something that we can put off until tomorrow. We have all these other things we want to get through. So we're going to put off that dream of going back to school. And I say to you that that's part of reopening ourselves to peace and to having fun, because education, it's tough, but it's fun. So if you want to reintroduce some challenge and fun into your life, this is probably a great time to reconsider those goals you had educationally. And by doing that, what happens is that you begin to reopen your mind, those places in your mind that you closed off because of all the other things that, quote, had to be taken care of during the pandemic. You reopen your mind to the adventure of education. And that starts to propel you forward again. And once you start propelling forward, once you're on that road to, that motivates you to do the things that you put aside for a while, you're going to begin to feel better. And I think education is an incredibly beneficial way to start reintroducing those things that we put aside back into our lives successfully.
So I'm going to go ahead and put up this slide here. So this is a recap kind of all the different points that you had brought up about the different tools that people can start to use. Would you mind speaking a bit about what you have found to be the most simple but productive to help people make that switch, coming off their shift and coming home and being able to pull away from the weight of the day?
I think one of the things that I find really effective is on the way out the door, somebody asks you to do something and you say no. Just learn to say no as you're going out the door. I mean, unless it's a vital emergency, and we all know the difference. Okay. And then even if you're just walking to your car or walking to a bus, that's a great time for your slow walk. So slow yourself down. You've left the building, slow yourself down, walk to wherever it is you're going, and make that your time of quietness as well. So you can wrap a couple of things into that moment. You've left work, you take a deep breath, and deep breathing is excellent. You're walking slowly, you're holding your head up, and look forward to the fact that you've left this behind you and you're going forward, you're going home, you're going to interact with your family, you're going to get those hugs you need so much. Hence, finding your support system. So we're tying this all in. Now, it may be when you get home that everybody just wants to chat with you and you're going to say, give me 5 minutes, give me 10 minutes. I just need to rest my eyes for a few minutes, And then, maybe it's dinner time and you can make dinner time fun. How can you make dinner time fun? There are so many mindless games that you can play with your kids or your family or your adult children. There's so many things to do that actually turn that time into a fun time. And if it's just you, then again, if you're like me, and sometimes you're eating, many times, most of the time, I'm eating dinner alone, turn on that mindless TV while you're eating. Turn on something that's going to make you laugh. Because there's nothing that will bring you down from a tough day than being able to laugh. So basically, all of the things we're looking at right here can help us achieve personal wellness, and we can sort of wrap them in to a ball. We don't need to separate them all out and say, today I'm going to journal, or today I'm going to do a slow walk, or today I'm going to be quiet. We can do it into a nice, comfortable bundle that really gets us to where we want to go, which is just a few minutes of peace before we go to sleep at night, knowing that we have to get up the next morning and do it all again. But that makes it doable. It allows you to do it. So look at these and think, how can I intertwine these all in my day and after work to really find those moments where I'm going to be able to release my shoulders from my ears, so to say, because we walk around like this, we're so tense. How am I going to release my shoulders from my ears for the next hour or so? And I think incorporating these things into what you do will help you achieve that.
What I heard you say is like fitting it into pockets, that it doesn't have to be another thing on your to-do list. It becomes a habit. It becomes, yes. Okay, as I leave, I take that deep breath. I get to my car, I listen to a funny podcast, or I ride home in silence, or whatever it is that you need that day. But finding ways to weave it in so that it doesn't add on to something else that you have to make time for.
Absolutely. And I love your use of the word weave, because the whole idea is weaving all of these things into your life so that they become the dominant focus of what brings you comfort and peace, rather than the stressful part that you're going to deal with when you go to work. And even then, when you're going in to see patients, or when you're going in to see any of your supervisors, you can still find ways to weave in these moments of peacefulness. And you'll be surprised at the reactions that you get when you do that. But weaving it together, I love that, Stephanie. That's such a great analogy. Weaving it together it will, in a very short period of time, just become the way you are. And you'll take a step back and go, wow, I didn't really realize that I could make such a difference in how I feel simply by weaving this pattern of wellness into my everyday life.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add? We have one more slide for you here.
Well, I think this sort of recaps it all and ties it together. And that is that life is short. We all know that. So do stuff that matters. Do what matters to you. And knowing, and I think we can't stress this enough, self-care is not selfish. It's about taking care of yourself. And that's an excellent thing to be doing. And work together to hold each other up. So whether you're working together to hold your colleagues up, or whether you're working together to hold your staff up, or whether you're working together to hold your families together, work together. That's the key. Because things are so much easier when we are doing them together. Again, it's another way to use the word weave into the love that you feel for your family and your staff. And remember, the time is now. There's not that, oh, I'll wait till tomorrow. Remove that from your vocabulary. So going again, I love this. What do you want to be when you grow up? We will ask ourselves that for the rest of our lives. Take a look at reopening those closed dreams to education. Take a look at what you can do now, and actually how easy it can be, and how meaningful it can be to you and your family's goals as well. There's never been a better time for being that you wanted to be. There's never been a better time than now.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I know that you bring so much professional experience dealing with all of this, and we really appreciate you sharing it with all of us today.
Thank you. It's been absolutely my pleasure.
We are going to go ahead and pass it off to Magdalena, who's going to go over just some of our School of Nursing highlights.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. For those who are interested in our Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, I do want to share that we do have an early start program for those who have successfully completed a nursing program through an accredited school, but have yet to take the NCLEX exam. You are eligible to apply to the program with the knowledge that you will have to take and pass the NCLEX exam to finish the program with us. We do have monthly start dates. Our next available start date is January, then moving on to February and March. We do accept up to 90 transfer credits, so we will do a full evaluation of your existing credits to help to determine how many credits you need to complete your bachelor's. We do not have any specific login times or group projects because everyone gets the opportunity to work at their own pace. And for those who are also interested in our nursing in the master's level, again, we have monthly start dates for that. If you are from a different program and you would like to transfer in credits, we will accept up to 6 transfer credits. And again, there are no cohorts, and you can work at your own pace. Our courses have been right-sized to fit the demands of a full-time working professional, making it possible for you to complete your studies, work, put food on the table, and, pursue on earning your degrees. If you have any questions, let me know. Also, anybody who is a registered nurse, you're eligible to receive a 15% discount off of our tuition.
Thank you so much, Magdalena. I think it's so important to make sure that, we're connecting all this to pursuing your passions and making it all possible. And so if anybody would like any additional information about the School of Nursing, we will be sending out an email invitation to all of our participants here today and all those who registered and are getting the recording to our virtual open house on Wednesday, January 19th, which we are very much looking forward to seeing you again, Joe. And with that, we thank everybody for attending today, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.